Fat loss, dieting and ultra-processed foods, the grim truth. What really happens when you eat ultra-processed foods for fat loss? What if I told you that two groups of people followed the exact same healthy eating guidelines, same calories available, same nutrients, same food groups, but one group lost twice as much fat as the other, and it gets better? That group, the one that lost the excess body fat, also had half the food cravings. They stayed full for hours instead of minutes, and they reported significantly fewer problems with fatigue and that's sleep, acid reflux, sick days. The only difference? One group ate real food, the other ate healthy, ultra-processed foods. The kind with those green traffic lights on the packets and those preposterous health claims splashed across the front. So this isn't from some dodgy supplement trial or a big food funded, pretend, unbiased, fake study coming. This is coming directly from rigorous research published in Nature, a prestigious scientific journal, one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world. And the findings have been massive for anyone trying to lose weight. And by weight, I mean body fat, and keep it off. I'm Voysey. I'm a health coach and I specialise in metabolic health done naturally. And I'm diving deep into this study because if you've been struggling to lose weight despite eating healthy, this might just explain why. Quick thing before we dive in, I checked the stats and apparently only 20% of the people who watch my videos have subscribed, which means 80% of you are just quietly lurking. So if you're enjoying this, please hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps me to keep making these videos for you. And if this resonates with you and you want personalised support, I'm now booking clients for January. There's going to be a wait list. So if you want to work with me one-to-one in the early part of next year, then now's the time to book a free discovery call. Links down in the description. Right, let's get into it. So chapter 1, what are ultra-processed foods? Let's start with the basics because this is so crucial to understanding why this study matters so much. So when we talk about processed foods, we need to be clear about what we actually mean. Technically, all food is processed to some degree, but the question isn't so much is it processed, but rather how many steps away from real food did it go? There's a big difference between cutting up a carrot, for example, and re-engineering it into a glow-in-the-dark snack stick. So when you chop an onion, well, that's processing. When you cook a chicken breast, that's processing. And when you roast and grind coffee beans, that's processing. But what we're talking about here is different. So think of food processing on a spectrum. You've got one end, you've got minimally processed foods and things you can make in your own kitchen with ingredients that you recognise. Chopping vegetables, roasting things, cooking rice, blending fruit into a smoothie. These are simple transformations that make food edible or safe or more convenient, more tasty, but still that it is fundamentally recognisable as it started out. At the other end of that spectrum, you've got your ultra-processed foods. These are industrial formulations that combine extracts from the original foods, but with additives and industrial ingredients added that you would never find in a home kitchen. So we're talking about emulsifiers and stabilisers and preservatives and artificial flavours and colours and cosmetic additives designed to make food hyper palatable, prettier, and give it an unnaturally long shelf life. Here's a simple test. Could you make this at home? Could you make fresh chicken and vegetables with rice? Absolutely, of course you could. Could you make an ambient food ready meal in a plastic tray with a sauce that stays fresh for 3 months and contains things like methyl cellulose, modified starch and 5 different stabilisers? Not a chance. Ultra-processed foods are things like breakfast cereals, yes, including the healthy ones with the whole grains. Mass-produced bread, which stays fresh for months or potentially years. All ready meals, all flavoured yogurts, all plant-based meat alternatives, your protein bars, your packaged snacks and drinks, actually pretty much packaged anything. Fizzy drinks, fruit juices, most things that come in plastic with more than 5 ingredients that you can't pronounce. So this is the part that really matters. Over 50% of the UK's energy intake comes from these foods, and in the US it's even higher. We're surrounded by them. They're convenient, they're cheap, they're marketed as healthy, and they're absolutely everywhere. Chapter 2, why this matters to me personally. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty of this study, I need to tell you why this topic is so personal for me. I spent years battling SIBO and SIFO. That's your small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and small intestinal fungal overgrowth. Bloating, brain fog, acid reflux, the works. I felt absolutely dreadful, and I tried everything. Expensive supplements, restrictive elimination diets, then the natural way, you name it. And here's the kicker. I was eating healthy, ultra-processed foods, plant-based meat alternatives loaded with methyl cellulose, protein bars with 47 ingredients, ready meals with more stabilisers than actual food. All of it had green traffic lights. All of it claimed to be good for me. What finally shifted everything wasn't expensive supplements or another elimination diet. It was getting rid of ultra-processed foods completely and focusing instead on real nutrient-dense food that my gut could actually recognise and process properly. So the additives, the emulsifiers and the artificial ingredients in the ultra-processed foods, they absolutely wreak havoc on your gut microbiome. These industrial chemicals, they were never meant to be in human digestive systems. They disrupt the delicate balance of bacteria, they damage your gut lining, and they create body-wide inflammation. So that's inflammation everywhere throughout your whole body, and your gut is a mess. And everything else follows. Your nutrient absorption tanks, your hormone signalling goes haywire. Inflammation spreads, your brain gets foggy, your gut literally talks to your brain. It's called the gut-brain axis. And if that conversation is happening through an inflamed, damaged intestinal wall full of emulsifiers and stabilizers, then you are not going to feel right. And I see this pattern constantly with my clients. They come to me exhausted, bloated, struggling with stubborn weight that won't shift no matter what they do. And when we dig into their diet, I find it's full of healthy, ultra-processed foods. So when I transition them instead to real food, and I mean actual meat, fish, eggs, cheese, vegetables, things that you recognise, fats that come from animals or nuts and olives, the transformation is remarkable. The bloating disappears, the energy comes back, the brain fog lifts, and the weight, it starts coming off, almost as this wonderful side effect of just feeling human again. So when I came across this Nature study, it validated everything I'd experienced personally and everything I'd seen with dozens of clients. So let me tell you what they found. Chapter 3, the study design. So this study is brilliant because of how it was designed. So let me walk you through it. The researchers took 55 adults, all with a BMI of over 25. So, and eating a diet that was already more than 50% ultra-processed foods, which is pretty typical these days. These were real people living real lives. They weren't locked up in some metabolic ward. And each person did both diets for 8 weeks in a random order with a 4-week washout period in between the 2 8-week periods. So the crossover design is genius because it means every person acts as his own control. So you're comparing this exact same person on 2 different diets. And here's what makes this study so powerful. Both diets follow the UK Eat Well guide to the letter. Same recommendations for fruit and vegetables, 5 a day, starchy carbohydrates forming the base of meals, protein sources, healthy fats, limited saturated fat, sugar, salt. The UK Eat Well plate replaced the food pyramid, but it didn't really change. They just gave it a makeover. The nutrients were matched, the food groups were matched, and the meals were even matched wherever possible. Similar breakfasts, lunches, dinners, and the only difference was whether the food was minimally processed or ultra-processed. And get this, the ultra-processed diet wasn't rubbish like crisps and sweets and fizzy drinks. The researchers deliberately chose healthy, ultra-processed foods. So that was breakfast cereals with health claims on the front and reformulated ready meals and plant-based alternatives with all the green and the amber traffic lights that we are told are perfectly fine choices. Both groups were told to eat as much as they wanted. No calorie counting, no portion control, just eat until you're satisfied. So what happened? Chapter 4. Finding the weight loss difference. So both groups lost weight. That's first off important to note. Even following the Eat Well guide with its ultra-processed foods, it led to weight loss. But here's where it gets really interesting. The ultra-processed food group, they lost, when they were eating the ultra-processed foods, they lost less than 1% of their body weight over 8 weeks, whereas the minimally processed food group lost 2.1%. That's more than double. Small numbers, admittedly, but still more than double. But weight loss is just one part of the story. What really matters is what they lost. The ultra-processed group lost weight, but they didn't lose any significant fat mass. Read that again. They lost weight, but they didn't lose fat. That means they were likely losing water, possibly lean tissue, muscle mass, not the stuff anybody actually wants to lose. And the minimally processed group, they lost significantly more fat mass, body fat percentage, visceral fat. That's the dangerous fat around your organs. So when the researchers calculated the daily energy deficit from the body composition changes, the minimally processed group was in a deficit of around 290 calories per day, compared with 120 for the ultra-processed group. And remember, they were all eating as much food as they wanted. They weren't being restricted. They weren't trying to restrict. And they weren't battling through hunger with gritted teeth, which brings us to the most fascinating finding of all. Chapter 5, Hunger and Cravings. So, the minimally processed group reported being full for hours after eating, whereas the ultra-processed group was often hungry, again within 15 to 20 minutes after eating. This is huge. You eat a healthy meal. They're not bunny ears, this is because I've got one hand holding the camera. You eat a healthy meal. You eat a healthy, ready meal with all the right macros and nutrients, and half an hour later, you're rummaging through the cupboard looking for something else. You're on the snack trail again. Mentally, you feel like a failure. You're greedy, you're rubbish at diets, you can't stick to anything, there must be something wrong with you, and now you're raiding the biscuit tin. Meanwhile, eating real food leaves you satisfied for hours. The numbers back this up. Food cravings dropped by about 50% on the minimally processed diet, but they stayed the same on the ultra-processed diet. The minimally processed group also reported significantly better control over cravings for savoury foods, ability to resist craved foods, overall craving control, and here's where protein comes in. One of the reasons that the real food keeps you fuller is because you're getting proper protein. Not textured vegetable protein or isolated soy protein concentrate, but actual meat, fish, eggs, dairy. Your body recognises this as legitimate nourishment and responds accordingly. Now, if you've ever been on any diet before, you know that hunger and cravings are the kiss of death for long-term success. You can muscle your way through for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, but eventually you're constantly hungry and you're battling cravings and you're going to fall off the wagon and your biology literally gets the better of you. You go back to eating normally again and you regain any lost weight and then some. And then you're in your classic yo-yo dieting cycle. So this study shows us that it's not about willpower. It's not about being good or disciplined. It's about the type of food that you're eating fundamentally affecting your hunger hormones and satiety signals. And it makes perfect sense when you think about it. These ultra-processed foods are designed, literally engineered in laboratories to be hyper-palatable and moreish. They hit your bliss point for salt and sugar and fat. And they're soft and they're easy to eat quickly and they're energy dense, but they're not nutrient dense. So real food, on the other hand, that takes longer to eat. It's less energy dense, but it's more filling. Your body recognises it as actual nourishment and sends proper satiety signals. And yes, if you're any good in the kitchen, it also tastes delicious. And there's Oscar with a drone. Stop press. The good news is anybody can learn to be good in the kitchen. Chapter 6, Finding Quality of Life. Now, weight loss and hunger are one thing, but this study also tracked adverse events and quality of life measures. And this is where things got really interesting. So both diets had mild gastrointestinal side effects. This is pretty common when you change your diet significantly. But the ultra-processed diet had notably more problems compared with the minimally processed diet. The ultra-processed group reported more constipation. They had 11 cases versus 3. Dyspepsia and acid reflux, they had 36 cases versus only 29. Fatigue, 16 cases versus 4. Sleep-related problems, 7 cases versus 1. And infections, 17 cases to 9. So these weren't trivial symptoms. These were things that affect your day-to-day life, your energy, your sleep, your digestion, your ability to fight off bugs. And remember, this was on the healthy ultra-processed foods that tick all the conventional nutritional boxes. There's growing evidence linking ultra-processed foods to gut disruption and inflammatory bowel disease and disorders of the gut-brain axis, which connects back to what I was saying earlier about my own gut healing journey. And this study gives us a glimpse into why people feel, or why people might feel worse on these foods, even when the nutrition label looks fine. So to me, trusting a food label is a bit like letting the big bad wolf run the creche. He'll smile, but he's still having everyone for lunch. Chapter 7, why this happens. So what's going on here? Why would two diets with the same nutrients behave so very differently in the human body? The researchers proposed several mechanisms, and I think they're all playing a part or they're all playing a role. So number one, energy density and eating rate. Ultra-processed foods are more energy dense. There's more calories packed into less volume, and they're also softer and easier to eat quickly. So this study found the participants on the ultra-processed diet ate faster with fewer chews per bite. So when you eat quickly, your satiety hormones don't have time to kick in before you've overeaten. And when you eat energy-dense food, you can consume a lot of calories before your stomach registers fullness. Real food, on the other hand, forces you to slow down. You have to chew more. It's slower. The volume is greater for the same calories, and your brain has time to register. Right, we're good, you can stop now. Number 2, food structure and texture. Ultra-processing breaks down the natural structure of the food. It homogenizes, it pulverizes, it refines it. This affects how quickly it's digested and absorbed. And real food has intact fiber and cell walls and physical structure. And the digestive system has to work to break it down, which slows absorption and keeps you fuller for longer. And number 3, hyperpalatability. These foods are engineered to hit your bliss point, the perfect combination of processed salt, sugar, fat, and umami that makes your brain light up like a Christmas tree. That's not by accident. That's by design. It overrides your natural satiety signals. Number 4, the cortisol connection. Here's something the study didn't measure, but I see constantly with my clients. When you're eating ultra-processed foods, you're often on a blood sugar roller coaster. Blood sugar spikes, insulin surges, then you crash. And when you crash, your body releases cortisol to try and bring your blood sugar back down. Try to bring your blood sugar back up again. Cortisol being your stress hormone, and chronically elevated cortisol, especially in women over 40, absolutely sabotages fat loss. It tells your body to hold on to fat, particularly around your middle. So even if you're eating the right amount of calories, those calories are coming from ultra-processed foods that spike your blood sugar and stress out your adrenal glands. So then you're just fighting your own hormones. This is why fasting can be tricky if you're still eating a lot of ultra-processed foods. You're already stressing your body with cortisol, and with those cortisol spikes from the food itself, and then you add fasting stress on top. And for some people, especially midlife women, this combination just doesn't work. Your body interprets it as famine, and it hangs on to every single ounce. And number 5, marketing and portion perception. So the ultra-processed foods came in their branded packaging with the nutrition claims and the traffic light labels. And even though participants were told that they could eat as much as they wanted, seeing health claims suggested serving sizes might have influenced behaviour. There's research showing that foods labelled as healthy or low fat can actually lead people to eat more because they perceive them as virtuous choices.
Take me somewhere, wanna feel alive. Far from the same old streets of mud and concrete. Take me to weddings, hear heart pound. I need that something, somewhere, just to make me feel alive. No, I cannot do that too hard. Just take me somewhere. Yeah, I'd take anything you got. Stay out the longest, no tomorrow, 'cause reality's boring. Miss the train home, talk to a stranger. Now I see sparkles everywhere I go. Take me to the station now. Need to go somewhere right now, just to make me feel alive.
Chapter 8, the healthy UPF trap. Here's what I really want you to understand. The ultra-processed foods in this study were the good ones. They weren't Pringles and Coca-Cola. They were whole grain breakfast cereals with added vitamins. They were ready meals designed to meet nutritional standards, like the kind you buy at Marks and Spencer. They were plant-based meat alternatives marketed as healthy swaps, and they were products with green traffic light labels, foods with health claims on the packaging. These are the foods that many nutritionists and dietitians would tell you are perfectly fine. These are the foods that fit into the government healthy eating guidelines, and yet, when compared directly with real food, with the same nutrient profile, they led to half the fat loss, persistent hunger and cravings, more digestive problems, more fatigue and sleep issues. And this absolutely blows apart the idea that a calorie is a calorie, or that nutrition is just about hitting your macros and your micros. The form matters, the processing matters, the industrial ingredients matter. You cannot reformulate your way out of this problem. You can't add some fibre and some vitamins to an ultra-processed product and then call it equivalent to real food. The human body knows the difference, even if the nutrition label doesn't. Chapter 9, what this means for you. Right, so what do you do with this information? First, let me be clear, this isn't about perfection. We live in the real world. Ultra-processed foods are everywhere, as we already said them. They're convenient, they're cheap, sometimes they are the most practical option, and sometimes they're the only choice, they're the only option. But if you're struggling to lose weight, if you're constantly hungry and you're constantly battling cravings, if you're tired and bloated and you're just not feeling great, this study shows you that the type of food you're eating could be a massive piece of the puzzle. So my approach with clients is always nourish, don't punish. This isn't about restriction or deprivation. It's about choosing foods that actually satisfy you, that give your body what it really needs, that don't leave you fighting hunger and cravings. And here's what I eat consistently for fat loss and hormones and energy. Fatty cuts of meat, that's the ribeye, the lamb, the salmon with the skin on, whole eggs, none of this egg white nonsense. Full fat dairy, if you can tolerate it, that's Greek yogurt, kefir, real butter, good cheese. Liver, once a week, yes, really, I'm not that keen on it, but it is a nutritional powerhouse. And loads of fibrous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, leafy greens, avocados, olives, olive oil, nuts and seeds in moderation, berries rather than tropical fruits, that's a lower sugar load. When you build your meals around real, minimally processed foods like these, your body responds very, very differently. You naturally eat less because you're actually satisfied. Your hunger hormones, they regulate properly. Your gut heals. That's a real big one. That was a massive thing for me. And your cortisol levels stabilise and your metabolism works better. And you don't need to count calories. You don't need to weigh and measure everything. You just need to eat real food and trust your body's satiety signals and make sure you're eating enough protein. And the beautiful thing, the participants in this study who stuck with the real food for 8 weeks, if they'd continued on that trajectory for a year, the researchers estimated they could have lost 9 to 13% of their body weight. Now that's clinically significant weight loss, maintained naturally without battling through constant hunger. If this resonates with you, if you're tired of battling hunger and cravings on diets that don't work, this is exactly what I help my clients with in my 12-week coaching program. We work together to transition away from ultra-processed foods, even the ones you thought were healthy, in a sustainable, realistic way that fits your life. And you learn about the sneaky ultra-processed foods that we've been led to think of as health foods. Those crafty ones that if you're anything like I was, you ate believing you were doing your body a favour when actually you were doing anything but. I teach you what really happens in your body when you continually graze on healthy whole grains and super juicy, genetically modified, enormous engineered sugary fruits, thinking that you're eating right because a fruit's healthy, right? Remember, bears feast on fruit to get fat for the winter, and it does exactly the same in our bodies. Come here then. We focus on metabolic health, on hormone balance, on gut healing and building habits that last, not just another temporary diet that's going to leave you feeling deprived and miserable. My clients consistently tell me that the biggest revelation isn't just the weight loss, which is just this wonderful side effect. It's how much better they feel. They have more energy, fewer cravings, better sleep, improved digestion, no more bloating. And the weight loss becomes this almost pleasant side effect of just feeling human again. So I'm now booking clients, as I said earlier, to start in January. I'm recording this in November. There's going to be a wait list. So if you want to work with me in the early part of next year, now's the time to book a free 30-minute discovery call. I've put a link down in the description below, which will take you to my calendar. And I also share loads of free evidence-based content here on my YouTube channel, all about metabolic health and hormones and sustainable fat loss. If you found this video helpful, and I hope you did, I hope you enjoyed the scenery in Andorra this morning, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos. Oh, and I hope you enjoyed the drone footage as well. I've got my son Oscar back with me for a month before Christmas and back with his drone, and I just love looking at Andorra from above. I hope you do too. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this video, you might like to watch one of these two next. Please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.